So which other change can we implement? Let's have a look at our layout component in the layout folder under components. If we have a look at it, it's clearly a class-based component and it has a state to handle the display of the site drawer. Now, I don't really consider it to be a container, though you could argue for it to be one because obviously it contains some other components and it passes state down to them. So it wouldn't necessarily be wrong to place that layout component here in the containers folder like this. So now I moved it over there. You could also argue for something different. With the given folder structure, which of course is also just one possible way, where I have this HOC folder for higher order components, you could kind of argue that a layout is really just a higher order component. Because what you're doing with it is you're wrapping your other components with the layout. So the Burger Builder component in our application, but once we add routing, that of course are going to be more components. And in the app.js folder, we're really just wrapping the Burger Builder with our layout component. And this essentially makes it a higher order component. These are mainly just semantics. It doesn't really change the way your application works, how you call your components. Still, you could move layout into containers, or you could move it into HOC. Or maybe in your application, you don't really have a HOC folder. Maybe there you just have containers and components. There is more than one correct way. Now I like this setup though, where layout is now in the HOC folder, because I consider it a higher order component. It's only there to wrap other components. And therefore here we're using it in app.js to wrap whichever route we're rendering, hence I move it into the HOC folder. Now I will also create a new subfolder in HOC, therefore, the aux folder, and move my aux.js file in there. Now this of course will lead to some errors, because now we will have some import issues. In the layout folder, we'll need to adjust our imports to still have correct paths to all the components we depend on, and we'll have to make sure that wherever we're importing aux, we also adjust the path. So let's quickly do that. I'll start with the layout component, and I'll start with the aux import. Since layout is a HOC and aux is, we only have to go up one level now to go into the HOC folder, so we can also remove that part, we already are in there, and then move into the aux folder and there import the aux.js file. So this is how we need to adjust this. The classes import doesn't change, of course, because the CSS file still is in the same folder, but the toolbar import does change. There we need to go all the way up, then into the components folder, and then we can go into the navigation folder. And I can basically copy that part here prior to navigation from the toolbar import and also use it here for the site drawer. So with that, the layout component is updated. Now what I also need to do is I need to restart npm start because it seems to break on that aux file, which it really shouldn't. But we'll probably also get some other errors here because we're importing aux in other files. In the app.js file, we also need to adjust the import for the layout component. It's of course now in the HOC folder, so that is something we should adjust. Then in the Burger Builder, as you can see here in the error message, we got an error because there in the Burger Builder, we are of course using the aux component. So there we need to adjust the import because now it's essentially still in the HOC folder, but we created that aux subfolder, which we need to adjust. In the site drawer component, there we also are using aux. And there we also have to go into the aux folder and import the aux.js file from there. In the modal component, which is in the UI folder, there we also use aux, so we also need to add /aux at the end here. And in the order summary, we face a similar issue. There we also need to import the aux file from within the aux folder. And with all these changes, now we should have a working application again. Let's quickly check if it does work. It's looking good. So now we got an application which works again without throwing any errors, but now with our new folder structure, which is optional, but which makes more sense in my opinion, since due to the way our components do work. Now with that, we really have a great application. Let's now move on with this course.